Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tracy Haynes. We have breaking news to tell you about right now that's happening on West River Street in Savannah at the Ocean Terminal. If you look at the monitor behind me here, you can see that this is a live picture from our Savannah cam. This is a warehouse fire that has been burning for at least an hour, about an hour and a half. You can see near the middle of your screen that there are very strong flames visible, and there is a massive black plume of smoke. News 3's Raquel Rodriguez has been on the scene today. She is there live now. Raquel, what can you tell us?
Well, Tracy, I was just told by the Savannah Fire Public Information Officer that the flames have erupted because it's a rubber fire, meaning that these flames will probably continue on for a long time. Now, Mark Keller couldn't tell me whether if it was tires that were on fire or just shredded rubber. But right now behind me, you can see the flames just billowing up and that smoke, that black, thick smoke that people all over downtown Savannah have been seeing. I was actually over on the bridge earlier today, and people actually were parking on the side trying to find places where they could actually look and see the flames. Everybody had this complete look of disbelief as they were looking at these flames and the smoke just billowing right up. So far, though, that they say that the warehouse is just on fire. It hasn't spread to anything else. So it is a contained fire at this time, but they don't know how many hours it will actually take to put this fire out. Now, as you can see behind me, there are some cars that are going over the Talmadge Bridge, and traffic is very slow, and police are saying if you don't need to go on the Talmadge Bridge today, just don't, because you can see that black smoke is right up there. So I can only imagine that those drivers are seeing that black smoke as they pass by, so it can cause for some dangerous situations. So if you don't need to be in this area today, just please stay home.
Raquel, I want you to stay with us just for a second, and we can give our viewers another look at this fire. And Raquel, just a couple more questions for you. First of all, I want to ask, do you know whether any streets have been closed or whether any traffic has been rerouted because of this fire?
Yes, there have been some streets closed in this area. I know that Falm Street has been closed, and Lathrop, I think it's Street, that has been closed with some police. They're actually barricading some places off. So if you don't need to be in this area, just don't bother. It's not worth it because the police will redirect you. They do not want anyone close to this fire.
Understood. And finally, Raquel, let me ask you this. You were talking with Mr. Keller just a little while ago. Did he talk about what firefighters will try to do through the day to try to keep this thing contained?
Right now, they're basically just using water. They do have some chemical foam that they can stick on the flames, but right now it's just water and manpower. They have firefighters stationed all around the warehouse spraying water on this thing to make sure that it doesn't spread, and also make sure that they can cool down some spots in that warehouse so the flames don't keep rising, don't keep going around the building. All
right, Raquel, we appreciate your work on this one.
I take a live look here from Savannah cams. You can see smoke still for miles right now from a large fire that broke out about 11:30 this morning at a warehouse in the Port's Ocean Terminal there. Still visible from miles away from downtown right now. This reads Raquel Rodriguez is on the scene of that fire at the Georgia Port Authority. And Raquel, what can you tell us right now?
We actually have Mark Keller right here with me now. He is the spokesman for Savannah Fire. And sir, what can you tell us? Can you give us an update?
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is just let everybody know that the fire itself is contained to a half of the warehouse, basically. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is keep it contained to that and keep it from moving to the other half. The product in there is shredded rubber. That's why you've got so much black smoke. And breathing the smoke is probably not the best thing to do, so we're asking that anybody that might be in the downtown area to, go inside. If you're staying downtown at a hotel or whatever, go ahead and shelter inside. Any residents downtown also. We're hoping that the winds will be cooperative throughout the rest of the evening, and so far, as you can see, the smoke is billowing up, which is great. The flames that you see right now are in an area that the front half of that warehouse was. All the walls have collapsed, the roofs have collapsed, and everything else. The information we have is that everybody that could have been or should have been in that building is out. That's what we're hoping for. It's going to be, this is just, kind of one of those situations we're going to be here for a while.
All right, I talked with Georgia Ports Authority spokesman Robert Miller just a few minutes ago, and here's what he had to say.
Within one of our warehouses, the warehouse contains crude rubber imported for tire manufacturers in this state and this region. There are no GPA or union personnel in harm's way, no injuries reported.
All right. News 3 Sheila Parker is also downtown. She's at MLK and Bay Street. And Sheila, can you tell us what you're seeing there?
Well, Russ, bear with me. I got a lot to show you and tell you about that's going on down here. First, I want to let you know I'm at the corner of Bay Street and MLK, and you can see behind me they've had a bit of a traffic problem here. We've got officers out. They put up a lot of barricades and cones trying to keep traffic off of Bay Street westbound. They have shut it down. Well, you can see that a truck there just took out some of those barricades and cones, but that's kind of been a problem for the officers out here. They've had to continue directing traffic because even though they had the cones and the barricades up for a while, people were still trying to drive through here, and of course they want to keep people away from that area. Now, you talked about this big plume of smoke. I want to show you what it looks like over downtown. Looks like the worst of storms is about to blow in, but that is actually just the smoke that is dispersing across the skies of downtown from this burning rubber. Now, contrast what you're seeing over downtown with the sunny skies over actually in the port area with the much thinner plume of smoke coming up. As you can see, it's just as it gets up in the air dispersing. And an interesting thing about that is that right here, and I live just a few blocks from here, you can't really smell the burning rubber. We all know that smell. It's not a very pleasant smell. But as that cloud disperses into the air, as you get further away from the fire, you actually smell it much stronger than you do right here near the fire. Now, as you can see, we talked about the traffic. The road, Bay Street, West Bay Street, is shut down all the way down there towards the viaduct area. No traffic is coming over that viaduct. There's no traffic being allowed in any direction. Now, you can see people walking back and forth. The police officers have not stopped people from walking down there. We've seen people toing and froing since we've been out here the last 45 minutes or so, taking pictures, walking back up. But no cars at all are being allowed down there. City crews showed up, as I said, a short while ago to help the police out and put up these detour signs to go along with the barricades and cones. And again, once you cut west on Bay Street, you are being made to turn left onto Martin Luther King. They won't let you go down towards River Street there either. There's no traffic being allowed in this area, so police are really advising you to stay away. Now, you may have seen a car just pass me. Obviously, there are some businesses down there. There's a hotel. You can see a Comfort Suites just on the other side of the Talmadge there. There are obviously people who are down in that area. As far as I am aware, I haven't seen anybody being evacuated from the area. There's not a concern about danger there. And there are cars coming, but they are being forced to turn right, and just basically they're funneling them out of this downtown area here at the corner of Bay Street and MLK. Of course, we are going to stay here on the scene and let you know what happens as things progress, as this fire slowly burns its way out. The firefighters are obviously working on that. Reporting live from downtown Savannah, Sheila Parker, WSAV News 3.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Russ Riesinger here. We'll get you back to NBC's Olympic coverage from Sochi very quickly, but we do want to keep you updated on that breaking news of a large fire at the Port of Savannah that we have been following all afternoon. It's at a warehouse there. You can see they're hitting it with water in a number of spots, getting it here as well as here. They've got a firewall set up here. The whole idea is to keep it contained and keep it from spreading into this part of the building, and so far they have been able to do that. Now, this fire all broke out around 11:30 this morning. That warehouse was filled with rubber shreddings that are used in the manufacture of tires. And you can see that thick black smoke. It's still visible from miles away from downtown, also affecting traffic downtown. A portion of West Bay Street remains shut down. Now, there are no mandatory evacuations at this time, but police are suggesting that people stay indoors if possible, especially in that area north of Bay Street. And SCAD did put out an alert this afternoon that Savannah Fire had advised students at Turner Annex, Boundary Village, Weston, and Dyson to shelter in place and shut off the HVAC units. So while the fire has been contained to the warehouse, that smoke could continue to be a problem for several hours to come.
Honestly, I've never seen a fire this big, never seen flames that big. When we crossed over the bridge, we could actually feel the heat from the fire.
Massive rubber fire sends up huge plumes of smoke into downtown Savannah, and we are learning the latest as firefighters work to contain it, and we're learning what you need to know about air quality and safety. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Haynes. Thanks for joining us. It is the tremendous warehouse fire that has been burning since after 11 this morning. And as one observer noted, it still looks a lot the way it did when it first started. We're talking about that shredded rubber fire that is blazing just off the west end of River Street downtown this evening. We've been covering the story throughout the day for you. Our coverage continues now with a live team report. First, we start with our Raquel Rodriguez, who will give us more about exactly what we're dealing with here. Raquel, good evening. What's the very latest?
Well, Tracy, the fire is actually being contained right now in the half of the warehouse that is left right behind me. Now, earlier you could actually see the flames leap out from that area, but right now I can't even see any flames. And the smoke has definitely decreased in size, and the color is less black than when it was first starting. And actually the wind is actually shifting all that smoke further down, whereas before it stayed more up in the sky. Now the Savannah Fire Department is continuing to make sure that there's a lot of water and foam on that structure. And the Georgia Port Authority says no one was in that building, thank goodness. So no one had to be evacuated because there was no one in there. So, and there was also, but what was inside was about 5,600 tons of shredded rubber. And from this fire, half of that has been lost because of those flames. Now, I actually talked to somebody who followed the flames because they could see them all the way over the bridge. So he wanted to get a closer look because he was just in awe of it. But the Savannah Fire Department says that's not a good idea. You know, just stay inside because the air quality is bad.
So we parked over by a Great Dane, walked up the bridge and noticed they were like 150-foot flames coming out of the building. We were able to get some pictures and we were able to see that basically the whole building had collapsed. Looked like some green flames were coming out of it. It was pretty wild.
The warehouse contains shredded rubber, and about half of the warehouse is actually consumed by the fire. We are keeping it contained right now to that northern half of the warehouse, and what we're trying to do is make sure that it doesn't extend now to the southern half. There is a wall that we're trying to maintain the integrity of that wall.
Now, the U.S. Coast Guard actually did put these guards around the drains that are over near where that warehouse used to stand. And by doing that, it actually helps make sure that the soot that does falling out or any of this black smoke or anything that's coming out from them dousing this with water isn't mixing into the drain, getting back into the river system. The Georgia Ports Authority did say that the Environmental Protection Agency will be coming out here to check the air quality. But we'll be out here giving you another live report a little bit later in the newscast, so stay with us. Live in Savannah, Raquel Rodriguez, WSAV News 3.
Raquel, thanks for that live report. And, you know, one of the biggest questions many of us have on our minds tonight is how might this affect air quality? Storm Team 3 meteorologist Lee Haywood joins us now. And Lee, I know you've got some thoughts on that, and some things Raquel said really resonated with you just a moment ago.
Yeah, she's seeing some things that we were thinking might happen this evening, which is that that smoke plume level may lower a little bit. But anyway, I don't think this is going to be terribly dangerous for anyone, but I think it could be problemsome for some. And let me talk about that. You know, the Chatham County Health Department says that any smoke is a respiratory irritant. If you can stay inside, the recommendation is to do so. This is especially for the children and elderly, and for anyone who suffers from any respiratory illness like asthma. Now, here's what we expect to happen. The temperatures are cooling this evening. We're going to get into a little bit of fire weather discussion. The temperature is 51 and cooling. Now, right now, the winds have shifted kind of like I thought they would. They were out of the north earlier. Now we're seeing more of an east-southeast wind. And we might actually see, as the winds become light and variable, a little bit of a shift to the south overnight. So here's some thinking for you. A very stable air mass. The winds are going to be light and variable tonight. It's going to be a cold night, creating a lot of what we call stability. During these times, smoke typically doesn't rise a lot except for the heat of the fire. The fire itself, likely tonight, because of the fire weather conditions, won't be as intense. Any smoke in the air will likely drop back closer to the ground. That's what Raquel was seeing out there, I think, is the smoke plume beginning to get a little lower. And bottom line is, if you live in downtown, maybe even midtown, as the night goes on, we may see some of that smoke a little closer to the ground. Also, visibilities may be reduced a little bit, and you might start to smell a little bit more of that fire. But I don't think it's going to be, again, terribly dangerous. But the recommendations from the health department, please take those in consideration if you have outdoor plans. Back to you, Tracy.
As you can see, lots of people on Bay Street have been ignoring that warning. The dramatic fire also is having an effect on how people are able to get around downtown. More on that now from our Sheila Parker. She is live downtown and she has the very latest for us. Sheila, what can you tell us right now?
Well, Tracy, it is, well, a shadow of its former self, that plume of smoke there behind the Talmadge Bridge, but obviously still a pretty big cloud as they work to put out that fire. Of course, a lot of cars got a really good view of it driving across the Talmadge Bridge earlier today. We have some video of what traffic was like there as people paused and took a look at that. We heard that they closed down at one point one of the lanes of that bridge to try and you know, for safety purposes, try to keep people moving. Here along Bay Street, it was closed down much of the day. Westbound, you couldn't pass MLK. Now they do have one lane allowing you to go westbound on Bay Street past MLK, but they have just the one lane open, and they are forcing you to make a left at FOM, so basically you can go just another couple of blocks. We're going to tell you a lot more about what's going on with traffic coming up a little bit later in the show, but again, you can see that from our vantage point here at the corner of MLK and Bay Street, that plume of smoke has gotten much, much smaller than it was before. And actually, most of the sky here in the downtown area in our immediate vicinity is clear. Now, we showed you earlier today, it looked like a horrible storm was moving in, lots of dark clouds, but that is no longer the case right here. Reporting live from downtown Savannah, Sheila Parker, WSAV News 3.
So thanks very much. Look forward to talking with you more later. And since this fire began, many of you, our viewers, have done a terrific job of keeping us informed through your emails and your photos. Have a look at these. These are just a few of the photos many of you have sent us today. Now, these pictures document the fire from all parts of the city. You see that one from Hutchinson Island, another one there from Skidaway. We've got many more of these photos that you've taken on our website. Just go to our website, WSAV.com, and go to the red box about halfway down the page and click on links. You'll find many of those photos there.